Hi everyone, let's talk about the skill assessment. And that's what we're going to focus on in this video. What visas do you need a skill assessment for? Do you need a skill assessment for all visas? Which are the visas that you don't need a skill assessment for? And do you need to obtain another skill assessment if you have increased points to renew that skill assessment and assess that additional experience that you've obtained? Okay, so let's start off with why would you need a skill assessment and what is it? Skill assessment is a requirement for many Australian visas, especially general skilled migration visas. This includes the 189, 190 and the 491. It's also required for some of the employer-sponsored visas, which is the subclass 494 and the 186 under the direct entry stream. It may also be required depending on the type of occupation and which country you're from for the subclass 482, now known as the skills in demand visa. But for many or most of the occupations under the subclass 482, it is not a requirement. Although the department may still request for that skill assessment if they have any doubts around your skills and ability to perform in that occupation. Now, as most occupations don't require a skill assessment for the subclass 482, you may be able to go down that pathway through employer sponsorship because you need an employer to sponsor you on the subclass 482 visa. And when you transition from that temporary visa to a permanent visa, which is the subclass 186, you also don't need a skill assessment because you're transitioning by having demonstrated that you have the ability to work for an Australian employer within that occupation already. But all the other visas that I mentioned, the 189, 190, the 491, 186 direct entry, and the subclass 494, the last two being employer sponsored as well, require skill assessments to be done. So to obtain a skill assessment, each occupation has an assigned authority for conducting the skill assessment. There may be some occupations where there are multiple skill assessment providers, but most of the occupations only have one authorized body. You will need to provide evidence of your work experience along with evidence of qualification. Now, not all occupations require you to necessarily have a qualification. If you have enough experience, it can actually substitute for the qualification as well. So for example, if I have studied a diploma of IT, but I have 5 years of experience in IT, potentially I can still get a successful skills assessment from ACS, which will be the body for anything ICT related. Now, it could be that I don't have any relevant diplomas or qualifications. I've just completed high school, which is year 12, and then I go and study something else down the track. Now, how will they assess that? If you've got, let's say, 10 years of experience, then you've obtained a qualification after that. You can still count that previous experience that you have towards the skill assessment, and it may substitute for the formal qualification again, right? So it's important to understand this, and even if you don't have any qualification, you can still just get it based on your experience. And these are the requirements for each of the visas that we talked about previously. You can then use the skill assessment to lodge an expression of interest where you can select either the 189, 190 or the 491 visa, and you need to have that skills assessment to be eligible and apply for that, right? If you use a fake document number to fill out your expression of interest while you wait for a decision and you're invited, that will not be accepted, right? Because if you are invited and you don't have a positive assessment, or the assessment date is after the one that you've provided and the reference number may not be correct in the expression of interest, you can be refused the visa even after you get the invitation. So you need to make sure that these documents are current at the time of lodgement of the expression of interest or the EOI. If you have any other questions regarding the skills assessment and the process and the authorities that govern each of the occupations, leave a comment below or reach out to us and one of our team members can assist you further.